Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Okay, welcome. Great to have you with us. We'll start with college football news because I think this was important. Should have been done a year ago. But now those who are analysts that you bring in will now be allowed to coach on the field.
And what was the old number of people you're allowed on the field to coach at any given time?
11. 10 assistants plus the head coach.
So this is
11.
big.
Well, this is big. Now, look, there's only so big a staff can be. And especially, let's give some perspective here. You're now going to be paying all your student athletes on campus, in this case of Penn State, a $22 million number. So, look, there's only so much money that can go around in something like this. And James Franklin's done a good job of getting more money for his assistants over the years. But Penn State has a talented group, very talented group of analysts that you can now finally turn loose and let them go out there on the field and coach.
Yes.
Very talented group. And that's, I thought that should have been done a year ago. Why it wasn't done. I believe the caveat in this, which is a good one, is that you can only send 10 out to recruit. That's fine. That's a great compromise because, look, there are analysts, for example, they just want to coach.
Yeah.
Right? Now, some of them want to recruit and are really good recruiting, but there are other analysts out there that just, they stay involved in it. They just want to coach. So, I mean, that part of it I thought was intelligent. It should have been done a year ago. They've also lifted, the number of official visits and things like that. That was changed as well, which is fine. I would have to talk to Sean Fitz and Ryan Snyder and Tyler Donahue about the significance of that. But that's that was, to me, an important one because it should have been done a while ago.
Yes.
And I realize you're trying to control costs, but I think that's up to everybody as to how they want to control costs. I mean, for example, in the NFL, there's some teams, there are a couple that have as many as 23 different assistant coaches. Well, I'm not talking about this. Okay? I'm not talking about this. This is having some analysts out there that can help. Some analysts that you can take. Let's take something that's specific. Okay, really specific. All right. I can. Justin Lustig coaches special teams, and he also works with the nickelbacks and the outside linebackers.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now if I can now hire an analyst less money than a full assistant coach, right? Now some may be, depending on who it is and the experience level, and have them specifically just work with a specialist while Justin's out there working with Tom Allen.
Yeah,
I mean something as simple as that.
It gives you an extra body to focus on more people.
Yes.
Like there were too few cooks in the kitchen for a while. Now there's going to be more cooks in the kitchen to help on out.
Right, on the field.
Yes.
Other than looking at video and saying, okay, these are my suggestions. I watched practice today. These are my suggestions.
They can give in-moment, in-time help and advice.
Right.
So it'll help player development. It'll help guys understand better what they're doing. It'll mean a higher level of play across the board.
So the NCAA Division I Council did that. I think it's being finalized today.
Yes.
Okay. But that is what they're evidently going to do. The football portal window right now is 30 days in December and 15 days in April.
Yes.
For basketball, it has been 45 days right after Selection Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to reduce that to 30.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it made things a little bit fuzzy at times.
All right. So what would happen is that they're also going to change the time frame of it too.
So when is it going to be?
The portal would open after the second round of the NCAA tournament,
Which makes sense.
and conclude at the end of April. Okay?
Because hypothetically, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight happen, and the Final Four and the finals. So that means you've got teams who make it that far have at least 2 weeks of portal time, hypothetically.
And there's no limit on how many times an athlete can enter the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no limit on that. So football is down to 45 days total. 30 days, first time, 15 days, second time. Basketball is going to be limited to 30 days, starting after the second round of the NCAA tournament. So essentially after the first weekend. If a coach leaves, you have 30 days.
So if Calipari were to leave Kentucky, which he did, you'd have 30 days in that period as a Kentucky player to say, like, I want out or I want to stay.
Right.
Which is, again, a positive thing because, and I know Calipari, I believe, went on to talk with Dan Patrick, and he said, like, I was scared to leave because I thought my players couldn't leave. And then he was like, oh, there are rules that allow them to leave now. And so they were able to follow him to Arkansas or go elsewhere.
A lot of them went elsewhere.
Yes.
Like one went to Ohio State.
A lot went elsewhere. A lot went. Some went to Kentucky. He also Arkansas, and then he also had some go to the draft. But that was the point of him, was like, I didn't want to leave my players high and dry. And with this now, especially, they are not being left high and dry.
Right.
They have the ability to do what they want.
So they want to reduce the total transfer portal number to 30 days in football as well.
Okay.
So right now it's 30 days in December, 15 in April. And we talked about what it is in basketball. They want to change it to 30 days for both.
Makes sense. Keep it uniform.
And that's, this 45-day window. I mean, for goodness sakes.
Make it a month. Make it 1 month. Make it real easy.
You're done.
Yeah.
Now with the time frame of it and so forth, we'd have to see. But
agreed.
So it's 30 for each. And then you can now have as many people as you want out there physically coaching on the field, which is a huge...
It's a win. It's a major win for programs.
For programs, for coaches. I think it's a major win for players.
Yeah.
To get talented people out there working with them.
They can get more one-on-one help versus 1-on-7 help. Like, you can have an extra body or two to coach, and so instead of having one coach for, let's say, 10 people at a time, all of a sudden it becomes 3 of them. So 3 to 10. That means one person focused on 3 guys at a time. And that has a lot more helpful than one person focusing on 10. It just is. So it's a good thing in the long run. Did you see, speaking of college and coaching, everything revolving around Texas A&M and their head coach for baseball, Jim Schlossnagle? I may have said his name incorrectly. I apologize. So after they lost to Tennessee in the finals, he was asked in an interview or during his presser about what he wants to do job-wise. And he basically ranted to a reporter, how dare you ask me about my future? I'm staying here. I've committed here. Less than 24 hours later, he's gone to Texas.
I know.
It was like, what are we doing here? He rips a reporter for asking a question that is very fair to ask in that case because there was reports of him in Texas. So she asked the question.
Well, let's start with this. The timing of Texas's change.
Yes.
Okay, that was big.
It was big. But the reporter was like, hi, this is what's going on. Like, do you have anything up to date on your future? He could have just said, I don't want to answer a question of my future at this time. That would have been okay. But instead, he rips the reporter and says, how dare you, and all these things, and goes at the person.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 so on and so forth. 24 hours later is in a new job. It was just like, you can't do that. And so often, it feels like it's not talked about enough. Like, coaches just do what they want to do and move and do all these things, and players are ripped for doing it. And it's like, it's crazy. Sorry. It made me mad, especially as someone who went to journalism school and got told to ask those questions. And then you ask that question and you're shredded by a coach. And then that coach immediately does what you said they were probably going to do 12 hours later.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's been a weird couple days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
a thing.
You know, you could just tell that Texas made their change. They're sitting there, and of course he gives that answer. My first thought was he's leaving.
Yes. That was everyone's first thought, was he's probably going to leave. Right. Spoiler, he did, but was like vehement he was never going to leave. He was only ever thinking about Texas A&M. Well, apparently they landed from the flight and he told the AD he wants to leave.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think you make phone calls on a plane flight, I don't believe. So.
Well, he has an agent, for goodness sakes. It's the agent that's the one that
but the fact that that happened.
That's like, why I always love the I haven't talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
your agent did.
Maybe you haven't talked to them, but has a representative of yours talked to them?
Also, did you need to talk to someone to sign a contract? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
So it was just something to note.
Yeah. The NBA draft is going to be taking place.
It is taking place tonight. But I feel like something has to be discussed before we get to the draft, which is happening tonight, and discuss what happened last night, which was, I don't know about you, but my entire night of sleep was ruined. In a positive manner, but ruined, Steve. Just torched. The Knicks had no regard, Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau, no regard for my sleep last night. I can see the joy in your face.
Nothing like talking Knicks basketball. I feel like I'm on ESPN now.
Go New York, go New York, go. It's really that easy, Steve. Last night, I'm sitting there, I'm relaxing in bed. It's like 10:10 at night. And all of a sudden, Adrian Wojnarowski drops the Woj bomb of the Knicks have traded for Mikal Bridges. I saw breaking news, Mikal Bridges has been traded, and I was like, oh, is he going to the Rockets? And I see New York Knicks, and I'm like, what are we doing? We're trading for who? We're trading for Mikal Bridges? And then I freaked out for 10 minutes, called my friend who's a Rockets fan, because then the Rockets trade information came on out. We both freaked out because all of a sudden it was like the Rockets want Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And it cascaded into a night. But now the Villanova Knicks are here, and there has been talk in the last 12 hours of the fact that Bridges has not made an all-star game. He's not an elite scorer, none of these things. And it's the ultimate play on fit. So I want to ask you, as someone who's seen a lot of sporting events and games, how much does chemistry play into a game?
Always.
And
it always plays, but Mikal Bridges is a really good two-way NBA player. I always thought the Sixers, to their credit, had made a lot of bad moves.
Yes.
I mean, really, a lot of bad moves. As you watch the NBA Finals, you're watching Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum play. They could have had both guys.
Yeah, they had Drew Holiday. That was a thing.
Yeah, they had Drew Holiday at one point.
They had Al Horford at one point.
They drafted Mikal Bridges.
They did.
And when they drafted him, I'm watching the draft of them. Wow, that's a really good draft pick. I think it was like the 9th overall pick.
It was,
like
9-10, something like that.
I was sitting there going, boy, that's a really terrific pick. He, he won't be a star, but he's one of those, like,
the guy you like to have on your team.
A guy that is a difference-making player for you at both ends of the floor, even though he's not going to be the star. You sit there and go, man, I'm really glad we have him.
He's a championship player. He's a guy you need on your team to win.
Right. When the Sixers were in their heyday, they had Julius Erving and people like that. And they had a guy named Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones was not a star, but Bobby Jones was a heck of a player. But I love to have him. Well, Mikal Bridges is, that kind of player. And 20 minutes after they drafted him, they dealt him for a kid named, I think it was Wells or whatever, from Texas Tech.
It was, what's it? I remember
from Texas Tech, and I'm sitting there going, what? And of course, that ranked as one of the really.
I think it was Zaire Smith.
And
I'm guessing.
They got him. I sat there and went, what are you doing? That makes no sense.
It was Zaire Smith at a 2021 first round pick.
It makes no sense.
Mm-mm.
On a franchise that makes a lot of dumb moves. And to their credit, that was one of the dumber ones.
They took a player who played in Philadelphia at Nova, and then was from Philadelphia, and it was perfect.
But can play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Zaire Smith couldn't. I sat there and go, this guy can't play. Gee, I'm shocked. He can't. It turned out he can't play.
Mm-hmm.
So the Knicks get a guy that is. It's more than just a chemistry piece. It is a really good NBA piece.
Yes,
that can defend, has plenty of offense. When Phoenix made the finals.
Mm-hmm.
He was critical of what they did. Mm-hmm. I'm watching the finals when they're playing Milwaukee. I know the Bucks won the thing in 7. But who's the guy who's always playing steady and up here the
He's
entire
always giving
time?
You 18, 8, and 6, and is defending his tail off.
Okay. And he's just he is my definition of a pro NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
Any team would love to have a guy like that. Mm-hmm. Well, the Knicks get him, and I think that's a big plus for them.
And part of this, and the immediate thought is, you look at this Celtics team from this past season. What do they have in droves? A lot of great wing players and great wing defenders. What, assuming they re-sign OG Anunoby, which looks very likely still, what is the Knicks team pretty much? A lot of really good wings and good wing defenders. Well, if you're going to try and defend Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, it's probably a pretty good start to have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, two of the best wing defenders in the league, be the two guys you throw at them.
Well,
it's a heck of a starting place.
Okay, this is what I've been talking about with Penn State basketball,
mm-hmm.
and I can see it in practice already come to fruition in watching them. In the Big Ten, you need to have big wings.
Mm-hmm.
And Penn State last year did not have that. And now some of them are young, but Penn State now has big athletic wings.
Yes.
It makes a big difference as to how you play. And in the Big Ten, you need big athletic wings, and in the NBA, you need big athletic wings.
Yes, and you need them in droves.
Yep.
Everyone wants 6'5" to 6'9", and 3 of those guys to rotate in. And what do the Knicks have right now? Mikal Bridges. Let's say OG Anunoby comes back. You can throw Dante DiVincenzo on the wing to defend someone. Mm-hmm. Josh Hart can do it. Deuce McBride could if you need him to. Yep. Like, you have a lot of players to throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Right. Which, if you're trying to build defense around stopping those guys, that is, again, a heck of a place to start.
Right.
Is by getting 2 all-defensive wings and then having guys who can defend like no one's business. And also, there is not a player on that team who's not going to throw their body at the ball every 10 seconds. Right. This is the Tom Thibodeau team, if I've ever seen one. Mm-hmm. And as we said at the start of this, there is something to be said for chemistry.
Sure.
The photo was posted last night by Josh Hart of Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, and Mikal Bridges on a FaceTime call. Because, spoiler, they're all really close friends. They've all joked for weeks. And, like, the last month has been jokes by Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson saying, like, if you're scared in Brooklyn and you're alone, blink twice and we'll come save you, as a joke.
Right.
And now here he is. Like, they have chemistry. They're already going to know how to play with one another.
Right.
And you can put Mikal Bridges on any team and he'll be great. You put him on a team with his friends, like, that's just incredible.
Yeah, it's a big plus for them. I mean, that said, they're going to need Julius Randle back. Because that was a big piece that was missing.
Yes. But Julius Randle will come back. Mitchell Robinson will be back healthy. Jalen Brunson will be healthy as well.
I think the Nets now have 4 first-round picks?
So the Nets in this trade, they received from the New York Knicks their 2025 unprotected pick, 2027, 2029, 2031 unprotected. They got the rights to swap a pick in 2028 and the Bucks pick next year in 2025 if it's not a top 4 draft pick.
The Nets have 16 first-round picks between now and 2031.
Yes. And part of that last night was not only did the Nets do this, they then did the thing everyone said they needed to do, which was they got back control of their draft moving forward. So what the Nets did is within 10 minutes of this original trade happening, clearly this was a 3-team trade actually, was the Nets made a deal with the Houston Rockets to return the Nets 2026 first-round pick for the 2027 Suns first-round pick alongside the rights to take the top swap in the 2025 pick, so their original one as well, and that went for the Suns 2025 first-round pick. So what this was, the Nets got back their picks from the James Harden trade, part of it, and now the Rockets are hedging their bets and are shorting the stock on the Phoenix Suns.
Sure.
Because the reporting last night was the the Rockets are hopeful to try and trade for Devin Booker or Kevin Durant, and if not one of them, to use these 2 draft picks that are going to have primo value in 1 year when the Suns get even worse to get someone else. So the Rockets basically swapped their shorting stocks on the Nets for the Suns and also gave them a shot to get Devin Booker, a star player. It's pretty much what they did, which feels like an okay swap to me. And they got an extra pick, I believe, in there. So it was a long night of trades last night. And these are things that are big moving forward, have consequence, because now the Nets can tank next year for Cooper Flagg and be terrible, and it's okay.
Well, one other note on Bridges. He punches the time card.
That he does. He has not missed a game?
He has not missed a game since the start of high school.
Yes. And
he
played 83 games in a season.
Right.
That's absurd.
Right.
He plays all the games, and spoiler, Tom Thibodeau is going to have a field day when it comes to him. Because look at that. Tibbs likes to play 6 guys in the playoffs.
Well, he had to.
He had to, but if you're going to have a guy to have to play the entire game, the one who doesn't get tired is a pretty good one to have.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. He has not missed a game.
No, he is not.
He has not missed a game in college, has not missed a game in the NBA, has not missed a game in high school. He's played nearly 500 games in a row.
Which is...
I think it's 474 or some number like that.
He has not missed a game in his... The only games he has ever missed in the NBA were due to COVID. That is the only games he's missed was due to COVID. He missed 10 games in 2 different seasons, but that doesn't count because he wasn't allowed to even be possibly in the team for those. So those are things, and that is all kind of the lead up to this draft tonight, because now all of a sudden all the eyes turn to, well, isn't this interesting that teams are swapping to try and get their original picks back?
Right.
And now all of a sudden the Nets have their original picks back. And there's also another team out here, Steve, who could also get their original pick back in future drafts. Those are the Atlanta Hawks, because their entire future outside of this year is currently sitting in San Antonio. And you are the Hawks sitting there at the number 1 overall pick. You've got Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, with all signs pointing to one of those 2 guys, if not both of them, getting traded. You've got 2 centers in Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu that kind of can't fit together. You've also got Jalen Johnson, who's great and probably the best player that's untouchable on this team out of all their guys who looked good last year for them. And you've got the first overall pick in this draft, but no future because all your picks are in San Antonio with the DeJounte Murray trade. So what do you do if you're the Hawks?
Move the franchise to Jacksonville.
Well, Jacksonville just kept their franchise in the NFL.
Well, yeah, they got the stadium.
With the new stadium.
Right, which I was down there in April, and they told me it was going to happen. So
yeah, that makes they tell you everything as well.
Well, I wasn't surprised. I was just down there. I was talking to people down there that knew what was going on. And they said, okay. Look, you got to start out with Sarr. No question about that.
Yes.
You have to do that. As you know, NBA, even NBA fans have no idea who the heck he is.
No. Alex Sarr, and for those wondering, to get an idea of who he is, he's a Frenchman who played, I believe he played in Australia.
Perth.
He played with Perth.
Yeah.
He is
great wingspan.
Great wingspan.
Face up game. Can play inside, outside. Good defender. Big wingspan.
And he wants to play like a Porzingis. He's a 5.
Yeah.
He's a stretch 5.
Right. So that, and he'll be really good. The question is what they want to do now with Trae Young. And the question is who wants Trae Young?
Yes.
And that's a big question that they have, at least at this point,
and
with what they want to do. Because the draft, he'll be the key in the draft tonight. But then after that, it may be, there's 3 established college players, Reed Sheppard, Stephon Castle, and Donovan Clingan. Those 3 are all right there. So let's Clingan, first of all, has like a 7 wingspan. He is a terrific defender with great feet for a big man. He can face up. He's not a 3-point shooter, but he can face up, and he moves well. You can put him, like if a guard is going in there, he can handle the guard. I'll get to Zach Edey in a moment because we'll get to the one-trick pony that Zach Edey is, which is a problem.
Yes.
Castle is a great athlete. On a team that had older players like Newton and Caravan, and Clingan was a veteran and so forth. There was this kid who was a one and done.
Yeah.
Athletic, can shoot it, slasher, can make plays, really good. Sheppard, high IQ player, terrific outside shooter, better defender than people realize.
He got steals and blocks and just does everything on the defensive end you'd want someone to do.
Really good. Now, if you're saying what's the difference between a Reed Sheppard and a Rob Dillingham, same team, the issue is size. Dillingham is only 6'1", and that's not, it doesn't mean at 6'1" he can't be a good NBA player. He can be, but the size part is an issue
because
in the league.
It's been discussed a lot. Small guards and they get targeted, and this playoff some did well, but in a general consensus, a small guard is going to get targeted by a Jason Tatum, a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, and it's not going to end well.
Now, will Dillingham be a first-round pick? Yes. But he won't be among the top 10 picks, despite being a very talented college player. And that's where he's going to fall back because it's the size part's the issue. Zach Edey, okay, let's start with this. A year ago, when he announced he was going to go back, I said essentially, what are his choices? Because I didn't feel like his game translated to the NBA.
And it didn't.
And I said that he would either be a late second or would not get drafted at all. And I had people say, you got to be kidding me, right? And guess what? The people who said to me, you got to be kidding me, 1 year later are the ones that are right. Because he is going to be drafted, and he's going to be drafted in the first round.
But last year, he was not going. He's going to be a late second. That was what his stock was last year, but now his stock is sky high.
Well, it's high because he brings an element to the table that very few people in the NBA have, which is a plus and a minus for him. Because, first of all, the pool of teams that really can draft him is actually relatively small.
Yes.
So he brings great size. He is a shade under 7'4". He's like 7'3" and 3/4. I believe his wingspan is like 7'10".
It's something like that. That sounds right.
Right. And when you look at how he plays, he's quicker than last year because he lost some weight, and he really, to his credit, works so hard at it. He is an excellent finisher around the basket. He's a good free throw shooter. Now let's get to the liabilities. All right. And the problem is the liabilities is a list. He's a one-trick pony defensively. He is only effective in drop coverage. That's it. You can't put him out on anybody outside. You can't. Okay? Even big guys in the league will blow by him. A guard, even in the lane, can still blow by him. Now, he has, obviously,
the wingspan
to
make
maybe,
up for it.
To a point. Okay? It's a little bit different now playing in the NBA with some of the quickness at guard compared to the quickness he saw in the Big Ten. And as I pointed out many times, the Big Ten is a decent league athletically. It is not a great league athletically.
You'd get the one Jaden Ivies every now and again that you'd see.
Why do you think Jaden Ivey, said this forever, why do you think Jaden Ivey stood out? It's like, wow, look at that guy. Because there's nobody else in the league like him. Okay? That's the best athlete in this league since Jason Richardson at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Okay? Sorry. It's just a fact. Hey? We have great athletes. Okay, I got two eyes. Okay? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That's why Ivy stood out like, wow, look at this guy. Like, oh, guess what? In the NBA, there's a whole bunch of Ivies.
Yes.
All right. Now, the fortunate part for Edey was that was his teammate, so he didn't have to worry about him. He's worked hard to get to this point. He will get picked in the first round tonight. He will get picked. So in the first round, he'll be a first-round pick. But he's only a drop coverage guy, so now the pool becomes limited. He does not have a face-up game. Now the pool becomes limited.
Yes.
Right? But he also brings something to the table like, okay, who's going to match up with him?
Yes, and that's part of it. And the other factor in this is the center pool is not very high because Sarr is going to go top 3. Klingon is currently looked at as a top 3 or 4 pick. And then after that, it's Edey. He is the next guy at center up.
Kyle Filipowski.
As well, but he is not looked at.
The difference is Filipowski is more 4 than 5.
Yes.
He's 6'10 to 6'10 and a half. And at the center spot in the NBA for teams that play pure centers, he is undersized, believe it or not. And that's an issue. But Filipowski, I think, will get drafted before Edey.
He probably will, but there's it's a bit iffy. He's not a good enough. Filipowski's not a good enough 3-point shooter to warrant being an inside out.
Well, as opposed to the guy that doesn't shoot threes. I mean,
I know
it was a miracle he hit the one he took.
But the current rumor, the hot rumor on the street, before we get to more Edey thoughts real fast, is that the Memphis Grizzlies need a center because they don't want to play Jaren Jackson Jr. as a 5.
Sure.
They've made that known with Steven Adams playing alongside him for 3 years.
Sure.
He was incredible. Steven Adams had injury issues, so because of that, they traded him away. So they need a center. Right. The rumor is
Jackson played against Penn State, so I've seen him.
But he is not like playing center, and the rumor is the Rockets currently at number 3. Speaking of the Rockets again, because they have all these draft picks, number 3 is up for sale. So does Memphis try and leapfrog everyone to go to number 3 and get Klingon for themselves? If they don't get Klingon at 3, or someone takes him at 4, who do they turn to next?
Right.
Zach Edey. And Zach Edey, a part of his thing, how many minutes did he play last year, you think, on average? And how long is a college basketball game?
I want to say he played 34 minutes a game.
34 minutes a game.
34, 35 minutes. He didn't come out that often. I mean,
he didn't.
I mean, Matt played him a lot. He's in good shape.
He's in good shape, and he's not going to be asked to play 34 minutes. And what was the other part of his game he was asked to not do? He was asked to not foul because they need him out there the entire time. So what can he now do? Foul and play less minutes. And that will probably benefit him going to a team not being asked to stay out there for 40 minutes and not foul a guy.
Right. Look, he brings a size element. He has worked hard to be quicker. He's lost the 10 pounds. It made a difference. I thought his movement was better this year. But again, he can only play drop coverage.
Yes.
Okay? Anybody who wants to take him and isolate him on somebody, he's going to get cooked. All right? Okay, he may block a shot or two, but 7 times out of 10, he's going to lose the battle when he's one-on-one with somebody, because it's just the way it is with the guys that are playing in this league. And but he'll be a first-round pick. So to all those people that had told me, "Oh, he's going to be a first-round pick," I said, hey, he's not going to. He might not get picked at all. You were right. I was wrong. Yes. And that's 1 year later. But I think, will he have a long NBA career? Yeah, I think he'll play 10 years minimum in the NBA. No question. He'll make some coin. Will he be a great NBA player? No. Will he be a good functional NBA player, kind of like a Lopez brother? Yeah. Right? But see, they can step out and shoot.
Yes.
See, he can't do that. But, for example, you look at which one was on? Was it Brook Lopez who was on the Bucks?
Brook Lopez is on the Bucks.
Yeah. When the Bucks won the NBA title, Brooks Lopez did all the dirty work down low to kind of free Giannis up to do, to play his game, do his deal. And you can be an effective player doing that.
Yes.
Right? And Zach Edey will be that kind of player when he gets out there.
Yeah.
There really aren't a lot of Big Ten draft picks out there this time. That one will be Khalil Ware.
And we'll get to them in a minute.
Right.
I do want to bring up, by the way, the other player top area we haven't mentioned yet is Zachary Reese-Shea. He is the projected first overall pick right now at like a 73% projection. He's a 6'9" wing. He's a 6'9" wing who can play really well, who can defend really well. So it's a thing that he's probably going to be the safe first round pick, first overall. And then Alex Sarr is there, Reed Shepherd, Stephon Castle, we've mentioned, and Donovan Clingan are all kind of expected around that front range. Then you've got guys like Matas Buzelis from the G League Ignite, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, who looked real good.
Knecht, to his credit, it moves well for a man his size, and I'm talking about thickness.
Yes.
He has a thick body. He'll be able to bang with anybody. He's actually a good defender. He has a good outside shot, good feel for the game. And Knecht is going to be, I think, he will be Doug McDermott in the NBA. He'll have a career. He'll be good. All-Star weekend, he'll be in that game. Not in the All-Star game, but in the rookie game. Will he ever be an All-Star? Maybe once, twice in his career, maybe. But he'll be a good, solid pick for somebody.
Yes.
He's an older player with a good mind for the game, and I think that the team that selects him will get a solid player, not a star, but a solid player.
And now we move to the Big Ten guys, and there are 3 other projected outside of Edey to go in the first round, possibly.
Right.
Which we'll start with Khalil Ware at Indiana. We saw him up close and personal.
Ware is, first of all, he's 7 feet tall. He is an inside-outside player. The difference between he and Edey is that he can step out, he can hit a three-point shot.
Yeah.
Okay? Moves really well. Can finish either hand around the basket. Good hook shot, posts up. The issue with him is they need to get him in the weight room. They need to get him in the weight room. He's not to go through an 82-game schedule. I don't know if he can hold up in an 82-game schedule in the league. But he can run the floor. He's not a great passer at all. But he is somebody that, the problem is going to be the slight frame moving forward. But skill-wise, he brings some not maybe pure guard skills, but brings some guard skills to the table as to how he plays for a big guy. But he's worthy of a first round pick.
Can I give you a thought in terms of where he might go in the draft?
Sure.
He's going to go first round, as we said. I think he doesn't get past pick number 24, who is the New York Knicks. because there is a chance Isaiah Hartenstein leaves, and the Knicks need a backup to Mitchell Robinson, and may not be so bad. But joining him, Big Ten-wise, the next guy is the similar in terms of the big athleticism we talked about with Jaden Ivey, Terrence Shannon Jr. He is projected to go in the first round.
The court stuff's behind him.
Mm-hmm.
He was found not guilty. Shannon is a terrific athlete who is lightning fast.
He's 6'6". It's a wing player.
He has, to his credit, made himself a better outside shooter because that was a weakness before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I thought that he showed a lot of mental toughness the way he played through the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, I mean, he caught heck everywhere he went. And he was found in the end to be not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
It really did help that, I'm trying to think, it was Hunter Dickinson,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't Furphy. It was
At Kansas?
Yeah, Kansas.
Kevin McCullough?
McCullough backed him up.
Mm-hmm.
And that made, I think, a big difference for him. But he's a really good player, and his speed. You're not going to get a guy in the draft that is going to be quicker than Terrence Shannon. I mean, you saw him in Rec Hall. I mean, he's just flying by people.
And again, he's 6'6". That is a positive thing in the NBA.
He's got length.
He's got length.
He has length. Now, at the same time, the question to me is going to be, I'd say, because I think Shannon's a second-round pick. He is not a first-round pick. I think he's a second-round pick in this draft.
Well, sadly for you, most mock drafts for ESPN, Yahoo, and all these people do have him in the first round.
I think he's going to be a second-round pick. He's rated in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the draft, he's rated in the 30s. Now, some guys are going to go higher than for whatever reason along the way. And one of them is obviously Bronny James.
Yes. Can I give you a reason as to why some players are going to go higher? And you're seeing it a lot this year especially. The NBA has changed a lot of their rules going into this draft in terms of the salary cap. We've heard a lot about the apron. This is when it starts to become a big thing because a lot of teams now need to make salary decisions. And Shannon was a senior, so he's ready-made to play in the NBA now. He's not going to take 2 years to get accustomed to the speed of it because he's already so fast and just he's been there long enough. He's going to acclimate quicker. So for a lot of teams that want to play for a championship, say the Denver Nuggets, I'm not going to say they're going to draft him, but a team like that who just needs a piece here or there, like last year they got Jalen Pickett, Julian Strawther, guys who have been there for a little bit in the college game and could help immediately. That's who they're going to be looking for is guys like Terrence Shannon Jr., the Cam Spencers of the world. For UConn, he's going to go late second round. But those guys are going to have value to just come right in the league and play really well.
Well, a guy that's going to get back picked in the second round tonight for the Big Ten is Cam Christie of Minnesota. I mean, look, he's got to fill out. I mean, he is not, I mean, he's 190 pounds, and he's a project. It's not like he can't shoot. He is, you know, in terms of length, he's got a good length for a number 2 guard in the league. But he'll be a second-round pick tonight.
I could see him going in the first. If some team wants to take a shot on him,
I don't think
he's
so.
He's a 6'6" guard forward who you could see a team taking. Like, there's a lot of players going up and down this draft, and no one can kind of really guess what's going to happen because a lot of players are going to be based on fit and need and feel, and there's a lot of question marks on a lot of players, a lot of guys.
Well, like Shannon, for example. I'll tell you what Shannon doesn't have. He does not have any finesse in his game.
No.
And that's, you know, and you need a little bit of that, you know, moving forward. I mean, but those would be the guys like in the Big Ten that would get drafted. I mean, guy that Penn State saw, P.J. Hall at Clemson. I know you didn't see him, but I really like him.
I saw him.
He'll be a mid-second round pick.
I saw him in the Dome.
Guy. I think Newton is going to be a guy that will be a second-round pick. Shed from Houston will be a second-round pick.
A guy who's going the first, who's going somewhere towards the back of the lottery, maybe just after that, from Duke, Jared McCain. Real good three-point shooter.
McCain can shoot.
He can shoot, and you can use him as a guard. That's big.
Okay. Now, a guy that's borderline, second round is like Kevin McCullough we just mentioned from Kansas. He's a borderline guy. Then let's get to the name that's going to be mentioned over and over and over again.
Kyle Leff. Is he going in the second round?
Let's just be straight about this. All right. And I say this with all due respect.
Yes.
Okay. And I say this with all due respect to the other players in the draft. If he were not LeBron James' son, he wouldn't even be a talking point. So let's get to Bronny James.
Yes.
What does he do well? Okay. Let's start with this. He's a high IQ player that that understands defense. He is really a good defender and understands how to play not just individual defense, but team defense.
Yes.
So he's very smart. There's just no getting around it.
He's 6'3", 210,
Right.
so he's not a tiny
He is not
guard.
6'3".
That's
a big problem.
Oh.
See, when he measured out at the combine, he measured out at 6'1.5".
So he's 6'1.5", 210.
Right. Okay. Wingspan 6'7.5". Okay. And so physically, so let's talk about the physicality part of it. He already has the thickness in his frame to play.
Yes.
Okay. You know, he has really good ball quickness defensively. And again, he understands how to play, okay, individual and also team concept defense.
Yes.
But this is where you get a problem. He's 6'1.5". If you're going to be a 3-and-D in the NBA, 6'1.5" doesn't work.
He is.
I mean, Avery Bradley, to his credit, made it work. Okay,
But he was a monster on defense.
right? Exactly. And Avery Bradley, right, is a guy that came in with more tools to work with.
The guy who I think you'd want to try and emulate would be Mike Conley, because Mike Conley's 6'1" with a 6'6" wingspan and is a little, not stocky, but he's a little bit more built.
But Mike Conley's a point guard.
But that's size-wise what he'd want to try and get to.
Right, but he's not a point guard. Okay? And it's Bronny James will get drafted tonight. Bronny James will end up at best to start his career be a two-way player. He will be spending time in the G League.
Yes.
Look, his basketball IQ is great. You love that about him. He was a better high school shooter than a college shooter. Now, was some of that because of the fact that he had to sit out for such a long period of time and not work out because of what happened, with the cardiac arrest, which is something I do take into account with him? Yeah, okay. I understand that. But at the same time, if he's not if he's not LeBron James' son,
where does he go?
He's a free agent. He's not drafted at all. And there's got to be a certain point where I know LeBron's an important guy in the league. I got it. He's a really important guy. But there is a point where you've got to look over and an NBA organization can do anything they darn well please. Right? And I'm sitting there, we're in the draft room. He's not on my board. Now, if he's available as a free agent, I'd like to bring him in camp, have him on my summer league team, see how it goes. Maybe put him, if I'm the Celtics, suddenly I know where he's playing for the Maine Celtics in Portland. He is not playing for the Boston Celtics until he shows me something at that level. But he's going to be a G League player and at best an NBA two-way contract.
He'll be 14, 15 on the roster. He's not going to be better than that. It's kind of where he's looking in terms of
he's going to be 16 or 17 on the roster. Those are the two-way players are 16 and 17. You're allowed two-way players. Okay? Now, remember, Andrew Funk is a 16-17. He's with the Bulls. Seth Lundy's a 16-17. He's with the Hawks. Pickett is not, but he spent time in the G League this year. But Pickett's not a two-way player. He's going to be a two-way player. Right? He's going to be 16 or 17 on a roster. And I'm not over here, okay? You have to be evaluated on what you do, not who you are.
Yes.
Okay? I saw Michael Jordan's sons play against Penn State. Okay? And guess what? Okay? They weren't, okay? It's hard. It's very difficult when you're being compared to your dad. He is a completely different physical specimen than his father is. His father is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody that big should move that well and have all those skills. Yet he does. What is it? LeBron 6'9"?
LeBron is 6'9".
6'9"?
6'9", 280, I think is what it is.
It looks like he could throw a vehicle over a hedge. Oh, and by the way, he can go as fast as a vehicle, and he can defend all five guys. He's just a special player in the history of the sport. Okay, so he has pluses and minuses. His plus is his dad.
Yeah.
Okay, and the fact that he has a high basketball IQ is to his credit because he wanted to learn the game. He's an excellent defender. And we talked about Lamar Stevens being in the league. Now Lamar, but the difference is Lamar's 6'6".
Yeah. Lamar's a wing.
Right? Lamar's 6'6". And he got into the league because he may not have been the best outside shooter, but Lamar can defend.
You can teach someone how to shoot. Teaching to defend is tougher.
Right? This guy can defend. But the difference is he's 6'1.5". Yeah. I just talked about Dillingham being a small guard at 6'1". Well, he's 6'1.5" and doesn't have the offensive game Dillingham has. I mean, he's going to have to develop that. And I think you also want to give him time after what happened last summer. It's been less than a year. So I would put him in the G League. I'd put him, well, maybe do a two-way contract, but I would put him in the G League and say, look, I just want to see now what you can do. We're going to give you a shot. I want to see how you play. Okay? And are you quick enough to play in this thing? Do you shoot the ball well enough to play in this thing? Because as a high school shooter, he was a better shooter than he showed last year at USC. At USC, he didn't shoot the ball well at all last year. I think what he averaged 4 points a game or some
6, I think.
Small. I think it was 4. Right? But I've seen some things that have him as low as 72. Well, that's way down there.
Yes, because there are only 58 picks this year, by the way, because the Suns and Sixers both had one taken away due to tampering. So only 58 picks in this draft.
What the heck
this
did
year.
the Sixers tamper with? Because it obviously wasn't worth it.
It was the Daniel House, I believe.
What the heck? What are you tampering with that for? Who cares?
I know. In terms of players, I know people are going to ask who developed really well in the G League and then made their way to the NBA.
Guys have done it.
Guys have done it. The big one of note, I think, in recent years was Chris Dunn, who was a 5th overall, 6th overall pick, but he last year for the Jazz was just a monster on the defensive end. Okay. So him, you've got Gary Payton II, who developed really well in the G League and then came out and played a big part in the Warriors title run. So those guys, we've got a few others here and there. Daniel House, of course, Kendrick Nunn. There's guys across the board.
Kendrick Nunn, by the way, when he was at Illinois, and I saw him play against Penn State, there's a lot of things about him I liked. I thought, you know what, he's got a little NBA to him. I thought he could make the league. Yeah,
he did really well with the Heat, and then the Lakers signed him. He got hurt, and it's been a rough year for him, but we'll see what next year looks like for him. But going into this draft, for those wondering at home what the order is, you've got top for the lottery. You have the Hawks, the Wizards, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Pistons, the Hornets, the Blazers, the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Jazz, the Bulls, the Thunder, the Knicks, or the Kings, and the Blazers again. And if I'm saying one thing, Steve, give me a Spurs trade. The Spurs and the Rockets are not going to be picking at 3, 4, and 8 in that order. something's going to move somewhere. If I'm the Spurs,
I think the trades are more exciting than the picks. This is not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's be straight. This is not a great draft.
No, it's not. Next year is a much better draft. You've got the top end of Cooper Flagg, who people think is a guy worth tanking for, as shown by the Brooklyn Nets last night.
I think he's the best player in the history of Maine.
Who else has come out of Maine, basketball-wise, if I may ask?
Nobody.
That was my thought.
Right.
But next year's draft has a much higher end to it. This year's draft is being compared to 2013. And for those wondering what 2013's draft was, the first overall pick was Anthony Bennett.
Cleveland Cavaliers. By the way, last year he averaged 4 points a game.
4 points a game. Sounds about right. So if you are the Hawks, Steve, we'll wrap up with this really fast. You talk about it a little bit.
France.
What do you go? Do you go France? Do you go for a Sarr who doesn't really fit because you've got centers?
France.
And also, rumor has it, Sarr has been trying to Eli Manning his way to Washington instead of to Atlanta. He's been trying to Eli Manning his way out of the first pick.
France.
So you're going France. Zachary Arisa-Shea is the projected first overall pick. The draft is going on, I believe, tonight at 8 p.m. So stay on your phones if you want to see Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams Charania break the news before the actual pick is in, which I've always hated. So I turn my notifications off purely for the draft night, and I watch everything on TV because I don't want to have it spoiled for me. And this, by the way, is the first year of a 2-day draft. So tonight is the first round.
Well, that pays off because that's the Bronny James night is night 2.
And tomorrow night is getting overshadowed by the fact there's also a presidential debate going on.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting night tomorrow in the NBA side of things.
I don't like the fact that the NBA, it's interesting. There are certain elements where they do a great job at thinking outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yet other leagues are cooking them on certain ideas right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, why is it the NHL is in Vegas and in Seattle and the NBA is not?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it the NFL is doing its draft and moving it all over the place and getting people excited and doing it outside?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in the NHL, this podunk league from Canada, right, is at the Sphere. Mm-hmm. They're at the Barclays Center again.
Yeah.
Why? Right? Indoors, not well lit.
Take them on the road to Miami.
Go outside with it. It's 85 degrees across the whole country. Go outside with it. Have some fun. Take it to Milwaukee. Okay? Take it anywhere.
Go to different stadiums. Heck, go to Madison Square Garden.
Right? But
go across the bridge.
Look what the NHL did. The NHL, when they did the expansion draft with Seattle, what did they do? They did it outside. They did it outside. Seattle's usually a little cooler, but they did it outside, big crowd. It was fun, the whole thing. The NHL's doing its draft. We're not going to care so much about it because, again, same story, unless you're a diehard NHL fan as to who these players are. But they're doing it the Sphere.
Yeah.
Like, you really? Right? Meanwhile, they're at the Barclays Center. It's a nice building. I've done a bunch of games in there, and I like the building. It's fine.
Yeah. Go out. Go somewhere. Right. The NFL having it in Detroit in the end of April. Dude, it wasn't warm.
Well, guess what? They're going to Green Bay next year, and they're going to Pittsburgh the year after. They're going to have huge crowds. The NBA just had to say, get people excited about the draft. Take it outside. Take it to Philadelphia. Take it to San Antonio. Take it to whatever. I mean, San Antonio's probably too hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Go to Miami. Go to Los Angeles. Go outside of the crypto where there's that nice area there. Do it somewhere.
Well, I know. I did the pep rally there. All right.
You got to go somewhere
at LA Live. I mean, but they've been beaten to the punch on expansion. They've been beaten to the punch on the cities they want to expand to. Right. They put their draft in a darker setting. Right, as opposed to bright, exciting, cheer, scream, the whole deal. It's interesting that they're progressive in some ways, and in other ways, they've been beaten by other people on ideas, and that's not good.
Yes.
Now, where they're going to win is going to be the TV deal.
Yes, they're winning with the TV deal, And they're also winning because go New York, go New York, go.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape, from college football to European soccer